Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm George Connelly with Scratch Golf Tips, and today we're going to be talking about lowering your handicap. More specifically, I'm going to be giving 3 particular tips on how to actively work towards lowering your handicap. Now, these tips aren't going to be bland, like you need to practice more. I'm going to talk about what we should be practicing, some other things that we can do that don't require practicing, as well as just general explanation about the handicap itself. So before we get into lowering the handicap, let's just understand what a handicap is and what it is there for. Now, a handicap is a numerical value that we can use to understand the ability of a golfer, and when you have 2 golfers of varying ability, if a handicap is utilized, you can have those 2 golfers play on the same level and compete against one another. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be talking about the USGA handicap, which is the United States Golf Association handicap that we use in America. How that is calculated is you get 20 scores. Your 20 most recent scores are what go into your handicap calculation. And then of those 20 scores, you take the best 8 in terms of differential. I'll talk about handicap differential in a second, but you get those best 8 and then average those, and that is your handicap. So a differential number on a round is what that round and that score counts towards your handicap. For instance, if you shoot an 80 on a very easy course, your differential might be 11. Say what that would mean is if you shot that round 20 straight times, the average of that, your handicap would be 11. Say you shot an 81, a slightly worse score, on a much harder course. Maybe it's just a harder course. Maybe you're playing different tees. Maybe you're playing in bad weather conditions. You can also add that into a handicap. You shoot an 81 from further tees, harder course, bad weather, then that differential could be something lower, like 8. So again, your most recent 20 scores, you take the best 8, that average is how you get your handicap. So now with that being said, now that we understand how the handicap works for the USGA, let's talk about 3 ways that you can actively work to lower this number. Now the first thing that I want to talk about is keeping track of your stats on the golf course. Now, when you think of keeping track of stats, you'll often think, oh, I just need to keep my score on the golf course. Well, yes, that is obviously true, but there are a bunch of other stats that you can be keeping. I personally put down all of the clubs that I use off the tee and for my approach shots. I put my green and reg if I hit it and if I miss it. And if I miss it, I say if I missed it long, short, left, or right. I also do the same with a fairway. If I hit it, check mark. If I miss it, long, short, left, or right. And the final statistic that I keep is penalty shots, whether I hit the ball into the water or into a vertical hazard, whatever it may be. I keep track of any penalty shots that I had to take on the course. Now, these stats tell a numerical picture of how you are playing. I know that if you upload a score into the GIN app, GHIN, you can also put your stats in it below your scores. You can put, I believe it just has putts, green and reg, and fairways. But when you mark how you miss it, there's actually a really great dashboard that I'll put on the screen within the app, and it shows you your percentage missed, where you miss it, so you can really get a great picture of your game. So you don't have to think back in your round, oh, what did I do on 8 fairway? Did I hit the ball left? How did I miss? You can see the numbers on where your misses are. It's great to have qualitative information on your game, like just knowing, oh, I really hit a slice, I'm a right-handed golfer, I miss right often. But you'd be surprised that sometimes these numbers really point out some flaws that you wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't taken the stats. And we can think about this in a different light. If you're trying to grow a business and you want to become more profitable, you need to know about your revenues. You need to know about your expenses, cost of goods sold, debits, credits, all that good stuff in order to improve your output. It's the same in golf. You can't just have your scores and just think magically how to improve and lower them from there. But when you break down, oh, I'm 3-putting 4 times around, oh, I only hit 3 greens in reg this round, that helps you get a better picture and very much so focus your practice. Now, speaking of focusing your practice, that leads us to the second tip for this video, which is practice your putts, most specifically your short putting. Now, us amateur golfers don't have shot link data, meaning on the PGA Tour, they can see, oh, I hit an 18-foot putt, I missed a putt that was 6 foot 3 inches. We don't have that, but you would be absolutely shocked and oftentimes mortified at how many putts the average golfer misses between 3 and 10 feet. Now don't get me wrong, if you're an 18 handicapper, you should not be making every putt from 5 to 10 feet. It's just not realistic. A lot of PGA Tour players can't do that. But it's very important that we maximize the amount that we can make. It may not be the most glamorous practice to just put a bunch of golf balls down on the green and hit 5 to 10 foot putts, but it is so important that we make those because there's such a direct correlation between score and putting. If you have 5 to 10 foot putts in a round and you made 0 of them, okay, there's your score. If you have 5 to 10 foot putts in the next round and you make 2 of them, just like that, in those 2 strokes, you've saved 2 strokes on your game. If you're not quite sure on how to practice these, or if you want to develop a practice routine around short putting, we do have a video that I'll link in the top of the screen as well as in the description if you want to learn more about practicing your short putting, because it is such a crucial part of the game and it's really often overlooked. Now, the third and final tip in this video for how to lower your handicap is you really need to dial in your distance control. There are so many golfers who take out a 9-iron and think, oh, this could go 120 or this could go 145. And they don't have a great idea of the distance control of their irons and wedge shots. And this is such a crucial part of the approach shot game. I personally spent a ton of time working on my distance control, and it was probably the best thing I've ever worked on in terms of my scoring. I had to get rid of my slice. I put in a ton of time with my chipping and my putting, but when I really nailed my distance control, it changed the game, quite literally for me. Now, I really dialed in my distance control by using my FlightScope Mevo. They are a partner of Scratch Golf Tips, so if you want $50 off your FlightScope Mevo, just visit the link in the description and use the code that's shown there. You'll get $50 off. It's a great deal. But what happened was I found myself, you know, if you're 10 feet off of the hole, 10 feet off line, but you're 10 yards deep, you've got a crazy chip or putt, and you're not in good position to score. If you're 10 feet left, but you're pin high, you have 10 feet. It's a huge difference, and you know, my distance control isn't great with like a 4-iron because that, you know, those long irons are tougher. But if you're hitting anywhere from a, you know, lob wedge to an 8-iron, you really should be hitting those pin high. Obviously, you don't need to stick it pin high every time, but you need to know, okay, I have 145. I don't have a 145 club. Maybe I should take a little bit off an 8-iron. Maybe I should add a little bit to a 9-iron. You need to understand these things, and the best way to do that is just spend some time on the course. If you're on the golf course and there's nobody behind you and the course allows it, maybe drop a few balls down on approach shots. Again, you need to make sure that there's no one behind you. You don't want to clog up the course, and you need to make sure that the course is okay with that. Another way to work on this is aiming at flags on the range. If you have a rangefinder, you can shoot that flag, and some driving ranges have the sign in the back of the range that shows you what the distances are to each flag. If you have any indoor golf simulators that you can get on, that's a great way to work on your distance control, as well as getting your own personal monitor for your own use. So there are 3 tips that if you implement each of them, not even fully, if you just do a little bit of work on each of them, you will absolutely see that handicap drop as long as you're playing and practicing somewhat consistently. If you're doing this and playing once every other month, it's just not easy to have good distance control or good putting or good chipping when you're not playing very consistently. But just remember, keep those stats and analyze them properly. That's going to help you focus your practice. Start working on those shorter putts. You don't want to be real nervous over them. You don't want to ask for gimmies every time. Start dialing them in, see a couple more fall, and you'll see your strokes fall with them. And finally, start to dial in that distance control with those wedges and irons. It'll help you be pin high. Your proximity to the hole will be much better. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions on anything that I mentioned or failed to mention, leave them in the comments below. I read all the comments and I'll respond. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to see more. Also, if you enjoyed it and took something out of it, if you leave a like, that helps YouTube show this video to more people who will also find it helpful. Once again, thank you all very much for watching. Play well and take care.